Hi folks, we're here with Mark Farquhar, Chairman of Tri Limits, Race Director of Tri Tyrone and multiple Ironman, an all-round nice guy to find out a little bit more about him. Mark, not always a triathlete, tell us a bit about your background.
Been involved in sport a long time now. Grew up playing rugby early days, played a bit of rugby for Ulster under 18s, played for Dungannon for about 15 years. Rather bigger then, I was probably touching in around 115 kilos at that stage, 19 stone, somewhere in around there. Played rugby at a decent level for many years, and unfortunately had to cut it short just due to some disc problems in my neck and a bit of numbness down this arm, so it was pretty severe, so I had to give it up. And I had a bit of a decision to make. I was either going to be one of those grumpy old men that sits on the side of the pitch and gives off about the youth of today, or I was going to do something. So I decided to, or my wife decided we were going to do a marathon. So retired from rugby in May and started training for a marathon. That October, I think it was, Dublin Marathon. So yeah, dropped a couple of stone in the process and started training for Dublin Marathon.
Triathlon then, Mark, when did the adventure start?
Training for Dublin Marathon, I lost a couple of stone, started running a bit more, and my brother said to me one day, he says, do you want to go and run around the forest with a couple of crazy people at the weekend? Keith Clark, he had just finished doing a Decaman at that stage, which is 12 Ironman in 12 days, 10 Ironman in 10 days. He hasn't done 12 yet. And so we decided we'd run around the forest at the weekends and Sunday mornings, and we done a bit of crazy stuff, and a few of us got together and we set up a club called Blood, Sweat and Tears, mostly off-road stuff and obstacles. So that went on for a few years, but in the meantime, Keith said to me, he says, do you fancy doing a wee sprint triathlon? So I think I had a couple of weeks practice, couldn't really swim, didn't have a wetsuit, didn't have a road bike. So yeah, got a wetsuit out of Decathlon, landed down to Eskra. I think it was about 17 stone at this stage, but I got a wetsuit that probably would have fitted somebody about 21 stone. I had no idea what I was getting. I think it was a surf suit too. And landed down, and Keith, he just laughed at me and says, what on earth are you going to do in that thing? I looked like the Michelin Man. So I had no idea, jumped in, near drowned, had no idea what I was doing, had no real fear of water, but couldn't swim. Had managed 200 metres in the pool the day before, so 2 weeks to go, 750 metre swim, thought sure I'll give it a go. Everybody tells you that you're buoyant when you've got a wetsuit on, so I did take the wetsuit back to the Decathlon and kept the label on it and all that, and got a smaller size and got a proper wetsuit. You learn very quickly when you jump into open water that you've got the wrong gear on, so sometimes learning the hard way is the best way. But so yeah, it started out sprint triathlon with a couple of weeks practice, bought a third or fourth hand bicycle at £120, and there we go, just fell in love with it. Sprint triathlon, can't even remember my time, it wasn't even relevant. I crossed the finish line and you'd swore I'd won Kona or something. Just amazing, that feeling, that first triathlon. God knows, it could have been 3 or 4 hours long, I don't know, it wasn't relevant. It was just one of those fun nights. So that was it. And then with an evening at Keith Clark's house with some pizza and some DVDs. No, not one of those nights. A different night, we were watching Ironman stuff. Next thing, the guys convinced me to go long course, and you know what? I never had much speed. I was 19 stone at that stage, or 17 stone at that stage. I never had much speed, so thought, well, if I can't go fast, I'll go long. So that's where the endurance side came out of. Yeah.
It requires passion, commitment and dedication, Mark. What motivates you?
What motivates? It's very hard to say what one thing motivates me. I've always been very determined. I've always been very focused on goals. I always find goal setting to be the key, but I don't compare myself to anybody else. I don't look at anybody else and think I want to be like them. I just want to be better than I was yesterday and better than the day before, and that just becomes consistent year in, year out, because you just want to be better than last year and the year before that. And you always think to yourself, I'll keep going till I have the perfect race, but you're never going to have the perfect race. So I just say this is a lovely long journey, and hopefully just keep going as long as I can. But yeah, I suppose hunger, there's a bit of hunger there too, and as you keep improving, you keep setting yourself new goals, and sometimes the goals start to get scary, and that just motivates you even more. So the scarier the goal, the more the motivation, the more the hunger.
And the more the reward, I take it. Who would you say is your biggest inspiration?
Biggest inspiration? Certainly in the triathlon world, from the very, very early days, I suppose, looking at a couple of good friends, Keith and Bob, doing their Decaman. But I had a mentor very early in my journey in triathlon. Very, very lucky to work for a few years with Brian McChrystal, very well known professional triathlete, and he coached me for a few years. He's a no-nonsense type of guy, and I like that approach. You know, it's just get on and do the work. There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts in life. There's no shortcuts in triathlon. Hard work and consistency. So Brian has been a huge motivator in my life. But who motivates me now, or who inspires me now? One person that I always look up to is Lucy Charles. She was a professional swimmer and was, I suppose, kicked in the teeth for London 2012 Olympics, and then she flipped the card over and uses that to motivate herself every day. So it's probably an unusual inspiration, but just the fact that she hit adversity and turned that over, and now she uses that to motivate herself to become one of the best female triathletes in the world.
What would you say is your favourite race to date, and why?
Favourite race to date has to be Tri-Tyrone. has to be Tri-Tyrone. Unfortunately, I haven't raced Tri-Tyrone 70.3. Just been organising and helping with the crew for the last few years. Favourite race has to be Challenge Roth last year. An amazing experience. Never been to Germany before. Went with my brother and a good mate Paul, and just an amazing experience. They estimate 250 to 300,000 spectators. Solerberg Hill has 30,000 people. You can't even see the road, and you're going up this hill. It's like Tour de France spec. The hospitality, the Germans were so friendly. Such a lovely country. Very historical little village it's based in. So yeah, Challenge Roth, outside of Tri-Tyrone, close. But
And what would you say to anyone considering taking up the sport of triathlon? What advice would you give them, or what advice, if you went back in time to when you started, would you wish you'd known back then?
It's a fantastic sport. Okay, I could never swim. I didn't have a bike, and I couldn't run. And yet, you know, sometimes when you're not good at one sport, you can be fairly okay at all three. And the thing about triathlon I find is there's no real pressure. So other sports sometimes can put pressure on times and stuff, and the only real pressure you put on a triathlon is your own, as yourself, and the pressure that you want to achieve stuff. But what would I do if I was going back and do things again? Probably wouldn't jump into the long course just as quick. I would like to have sort of built up the 3 disciplines, maybe worked at some of the shorter distances, because I'm starting now to think I'm actually, I like long distance, enjoy it, but I certainly want to go the shorter distance, and there's probably less time commitment in some of the shorter distance races. Certainly training for a long course is huge commitment for months and months and months. And it's not that I would change any of my training as such, but I would just to try out some shorter distance races. So yeah, that's okay.
Right, Mark, we quick fire round. Favourite car town?
Tom and Jerry.
Favourite treat after a race?
Mixed grill. Just joking. Ice cream and beer.
Favourite flavour of ice cream?
Vanilla. Honeycomb. Why did I say vanilla? Honeycomb.
Decide.
Honeycomb.
Okay, yes or no answers. Pineapple on pizza?
Yes.
Quality Street or Roses?
Roses.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee. Did I say coffee?
You did say coffee,
Okay.
yes. If I said stop, what would be the first thing that comes into your head?
Stop.
Red sauce or brown?
Brown.
And if I was to ask your mother to tell me one embarrassing thing about you and phone her right now, what would she say?
Oh dear, don't ask her about the cold bunker.
The sleeping over the cold bunker after a night in the rugby club?
Oh no, she told you this?
Well, the last coach I had told me to always be prepared.
Oh dear.
Thank you, Mark, and thank you for giving us your time today to give us a wee insight into the man behind the club.